Today on Real Pilates, we're going to talk about 3 organs that are super important for health and for happiness. So we are looking at the liver, the spleen, and the heart. In Chinese medicine, it's known as the triple burner. So in general, all of your organs, like where are they? They're all in here, right? And what do they do in there? They sit. Okay, and what do they sit on in here? They sit on the bottom of your abs, right? So I want you to think of your abs like a can. Picture a can of soup. There's a top, there's a bottom, and then there's the front, the sides, and the back that are round, right? So here's the sides of my can, right? That are the front is the front of the abs, the 6-pack. The sides are obliques, internal and external. In the back, your ab muscles blend with the low back muscles. There's a billion of them. They're multifidus, bunch of them. I'm not going to get crazy with anatomy. The top of your coffee can, that is your container of your organs, is the diaphragm. And the bottom, where it all sits, my sweetness, is called the pelvic floor. You may have heard of the pelvic floor. So there's a difference between the pelvic floor of a man and of a woman. Yeah. Pelvic floor of a man has 2 holes. Women have an extra hole for having babies. That extra hole makes women have a pelvic floor that needs a lot more to keep it strong and lifted. So all your organs are sitting just like the books sit on a shelf on your pelvic floor. If your pelvic floor sags because it's too soft, or if your pelvic floor is really too tight from stress and other things and everything is jammed upward, your organs are all not happy. When you sag, it's not good, and when they're jammed upward, it's not good. Sometimes that forces the organs outward, and it gives you a rounding that you look at it and say, well, I have a fat belly, but it's not. It can be postural from pelvic floor that's the wrong length that pushes things forward. So pelvic floor is super important, and we work pelvic floor in all exercises, in all genres of Pilates that I do because I do real Pilates, whether I do Mat, Reformer, Wunda, Chair, Cadillac, all of it. I always use pelvic floor. I may not talk about it because there's so much going on, but we're using it. So the organs all lay against each other, and they have this coating, and they're designed to slide and rub. Yeah, they have a good time in there. Your organs need movement for stimulation and for health, because it's not just about blood circulation, which is also important. You need to have physical movement. So side bending, twisting, these are all single movements. Bending forward, which we call flexion of the trunk of this part of the body, and then back arching, which is called extension. So in the classes, I do single movements and blends of movements. So you can do a turn and a side bend, or you can do a forward bend and a side bend, or you can do a blend of all the other ones. There's a million sequences. It's important that you do these movements singularly and blended so that you stimulate the organs, so that you help the liver detox, so that you keep space in the rib cage, because the rib cage, babe, can be a cage. It's good to help keep things out and protect the organs and the heart and the lungs, but it can also be a cage contracting and keeping things too tightly in, and that's not good. So there is a sheathing, bleh, I'm spitting over here. In between the ribs, there's 3 layers of sheathing, right, which are called intercostal sheathing muscles, but it's more sheathing that need to have the right strength, because if they're too tight, you're contracted, and then it contracts all your organs, and that makes you age prematurely, not have cell regeneration. It makes you crave sugar. It makes you gain weight. It makes less energy for the head. It gives headaches, droopy eyes. Oh, aesthetically, what it does is it wreaks havoc. So it's super important that you have spacing in between each rib. Don't worry about that. I take care of that. That's my job. In the classes and everything we do, I make sure that you have a lifted pelvic floor that's not too tight, that's not too loose. It's the Goldilocks, baby. And I'm the Goldilocks because I'm old and I've been teaching for a long time and I know all the tricks to keep you in a fix. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I'll see you in class. Today in Real Pilates, we're going to talk about one of your organs known as the liver. So there's a lot of things that the liver does. You know how many functions that liver of ours has? 500. Just about 500. So the main ones that we're going to look at and talk about are that the liver has the control on the quality of the blood. The chemical levels within the blood are being adjusted all the time by the liver. The liver excretes the bile with the help of the spleen, but we'll talk about that later on. And that bile attaches and converts toxins and breaks it down so that you can get them out of your body. The liver produces certain proteins for plasma of the blood. The liver helps produce and adjust your cholesterol. Who knew, right? The liver also stores iron and it processes it too from the food. It also stores and helps process other vitamins as well, but one of the big ones is the liver. The liver also is really good at pulling poison out of the blood. So obviously when your cells die and it's time for them to be regenerated, yes, the liver with the help of the spleen does some of that. But I'm talking about things like pesticides, and everyone poo-poos, oh, organic food, it's not really organic, it's expensive, it's the same. No, it's not. The pesticides that are in food are super, super taxing on the liver. When you bog down the liver, you bog down your energy, you're having an inferior quality of blood, and you're leaving your immune system also at a higher risk. Alcohol, of course, is the obvious thing that damages the liver. But there are many people, unfortunately, that have cirrhosis of the liver that do not drink. You can drink 2 glasses of wine, 2 beers, 1 hard shot of liquor a day. And on the average person, I'm talking average people, there are people that can't drink at all, okay? That is fine, and it doesn't damage the liver. But there's people that damage their liver because they're painters, because they're working around things like polyurethane, or they're working around cleaners with ammonia. There's a lot of household products that we use that you don't realize you're breathing at. The deodorizers that are such a big thing now that everyone thinks that you're going to spray this Febreze and your house is clean. No, those are things that put toxins in your house. So open the windows, cleaning with vinegar, with apple cider vinegar. I know sometimes you need something a little stronger. Try to dilute it. Try to wear gloves so you don't absorb it into your skin, because it goes into the bloodstream. And where does it end up? In the liver. So you get it through the nose, into the bloodstream, and in the skin, into the bloodstream. Another major thing that really stresses, we're going to talk more about this month, but one thing I want you to be careful of is supplements. Supplements are amazing, and I recommend them for a lot of different things. It is important that the variety, the kind of supplement that you're using is a supplement that is naturally derived. What does that mean? It needs to be derived from whole food source. There's a couple of really good brands out there like Gaia, Gaia, that derive their supplements from whole food, organic whole food sources. New Chapter is another really great supplement manufacturer. I'm sure there are others. I want you to understand that if you're taking a supplement, let's say that you want to increase your calcium, and you take calcium that is synthetically derived or derived from something like, I can't say that word, from minerals, from stones, If you take just that calcium supplement and it's not blended in a way that the body recognizes it, the body's not going to absorb it. The body goes, oh, what's this? Boo. Throw it to the liver. Then the liver has to throw it out of your body. So if you want to increase your calcium, you would use something like chlorella, spirulina. All the algae from the ocean are rich in a form of calcium that the body says, oh, that's food. The body recognizes it. And then that calcium has the right amount of vitamin D, 3, 6, and other things that the body goes, oh, I can suck that calcium right out of that algae because you're sucking it out of food, as opposed to taking a bajillion CUs of calcium that is synthetically derived. You see what I'm getting at here? Your body doesn't absorb it and you're taxing the liver. So there's a lot of great things that are going to really help the liver, and I'm going to get into that in these following days and weeks. But reassess what you have going on in your house. And notwithstanding, water is something that really helps the liver process everything and helps dilute the toxins and helps them get flushed out of the body. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I'll see you soon for another layer of Real Pilates. Today on Real Pilates, we're going to continue to talk about the liver. The liver has many functions, over 500 as we have discovered. So where is the liver? The liver sits on top of the stomach on the right side of the body, and it has the ribs to help protect it. The diaphragm is at the very, very top, and that's what separates the liver from the lungs. It's the top of the muscle container, the ab container. The breath is super, super connected to the heart, as we're going to talk about later. But I want you to visualize that. So your breathing has a definite effect on the liver. The liver is your first line of defense for resisting infection. The liver makes immune factors, and it helps diagnose and produce immune factors, and it removes bacteria, viruses, and infections from the bloodstream. Super important that you have a liver that's supercharged and super strong. As the liver breaks down harmful substances, it uses the bile, it converts that, and it pushes that bile and those toxins that have been chopped up and made not aggressive on the body, because first it converts them, then it pushes it out with the bile into the intestine, and you poop it out. I know. So you can check by the color of your poop if your poop is too light or too dark. A lot of bile dark, less bile light. So there's going to be days that your bile changes, but it's something to pay attention to your poop color. If you don't look at your poop every time you poop, I don't know what to tell you. I always look. Now, you need bile. Too much bile is not good, but no bile is also not good. So there are things that help regulate and produce your bile. A couple of them are glycine and taurine. So don't go taking more supplements. No, you can get that from food. Here's foods that are really good to eat, that help with the bile, that help the liver. So gelatin, Jello, bone broth. You ever boil bones, make soup? There's even places that make bone broth in powder. Check the ingredients that it's organic and that it doesn't have hydrogenated other crap in there, because then you're, killing the mosquito with a hammer, but you're breaking the furniture and destroying the floor. So you don't want to do that. Make sure that you make real bone broth. Fish, collagen. There's a lot of collagen in fish. Seaweeds, all seaweeds. So now, when you eat fiber, it helps regulate bile. If you have high bile, you need to eat things with more fiber, like things like oatmeal, things that have natural fiber in them, the oats and the vegetables, all of that stuff. Things that also help with the regulation and formation of bile or things that are simple like apple cider vinegar. You can just buy a jar, make sure it has the mother, because the mother is what the apple cider vinegar is made from. The cheap companies just give you apple cider vinegar and it doesn't have the mother. So read the label. I always used to buy the Bragg's, that's the best for me, but read the label. You can put just 1 spoon of apple cider vinegar and a little bit of water and drink that. That really helps. Lemon, lime, things that are bitter, bitter herbs. Now, you wouldn't think that parsley is a bitter herb, but the liver loves bitter. Bitter, parsley, dandelion. And I'm going to give you some more in upcoming tips. Remember that the liver is super important for the metabolism, the immune system, and the regulation of cholesterol. So love your liver. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I'll see you soon for another layer of Real Pilates. Today on Real Pilates, we're going to talk about foods that help you love your liver. So, things that are very good for the liver are things that are high in fiber, things that are organically derived and minimally processed. For instance, olive oil, cold pressed, first, squeeze the olive, that first oil that comes out, that is super good for the liver. Not all olive oil is the same. It can say organic olive oil. It can say cold pressed. It has to be extra virgin, which means it's the first oil that comes out of the olive. Cold pressed, and if you can get it, organic. I live where there's a lot of olive trees, and there's minimal stuff that's put on the olives, but there is stuff that's sprayed on olives. So it's up to you. The better your oil, the better your liver. Coconut oil also, the same thing. Coconut oil is very good for the liver. It should be extra virgin, cold pressed, and organic if you can get it. So let's talk about some of the vegetables. The cruciferous vegetables: broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, kale, radicchio. All of these have something called glutenine, and the glutenine or glutenine, say it either way you want, helps kickstart the enzymes that help keep the liver healthy. So you want to give your liver fuel so that it can keep itself clean and it can continue to do its jobs. Citrus. We talked about the citrus, the lemon, and the lime. But the citrus stimulate the liver and it helps turn the toxins into water-based toxins that then the liver can get rid of easier. Grapefruit not only helps you change the toxins of the liver into water-based, but it also has narogen, which helps reduce inflammation in the liver. And so it's a double plus fresh grapefruit. Garlic is excellent. You hear garlic, but the reason that garlic is good for the liver is that the garlic has sulfur. So that helps activate the liver enzymes, which helps flush out the toxins. Plus, the garlic has a trace mineral called selenium, which is a micronutrient which help build and boost antioxidant and the antioxidants that help boost liver enzymes. So the garlic is very good. Green tea, 1 or 2 cups a day, has the antioxidant, and it's the catechin, which help improve your blood markers because it helps the health of the liver. Science has just discovered that coffee also, unless you're caffeine sensitive, 1 or 2 cups a day, it helps because of the parahexine, I can't say that word. It helps slow the growth of scar tissue, which is found in the fibrosis of the liver. So it really helps slow down the scar tissue of the liver. It helps reduce cirrhosis of the liver, and it helps prevent hepatocellular cancer of the liver. 1 or 2 cups of coffee a day. Remember, we're not all the same. Some people are super caffeine sensitive and they cannot have that amount of coffee. So we would switch to the green tea, which has a little bit less caffeine. Things that are bad for the liver, bad. We all know about the alcohol, right? More than 1 or 2 glasses of wine, 1 or 2 beers, or 1 shot of strong liquor a day, now you're stressing the liver. So that cannot be something that you do every day. So if you're going to have a party and you know that you're going to be drinking, try to load up on good things a day or 2 before to get your liver ready for the torture. Yeah. Okay. Fried foods, fast foods, processed foods are all taxing and stressful to the liver. There is a rise in cirrhosis of the liver amongst young people and people who do not drink, and it is because of fast foods. The saturated fats are super bad for the liver. Too much red meat taxes the liver. Excess weight on the body is a strain of the liver. Lack of movement. So you can be a little bit larger, but if you're doing twisting, side bending, forward, and extension every day, moving the body, stimulating the liver by moving the actual liver, by not just walking on the robot and driving and just sitting there and just doing exercises, but doing body movements along with exercise, Pilates really helps the liver. And avoid excess supplements that are synthetically derived. I talked about that already. This is Pilates Master Nikki. Water also helps the liver. I will see you soon for another layer of real Pilates. Today on Real Pilates, we're going to talk about your spleen. Your spleen is BFF with your liver. So the spleen helps remove red blood cells that are weak and that are dying or dead. So the red blood cell cycle life is about 120 days. Also, the spleen helps eliminate malformed red blood cells. They're destroyed by the spleen and converted. They take that hemoglobin and they convert it with a substance known as the bilirubin. And if you look on your blood test, you'll see that there's always a marker for your bilirubin. So it goes to the liver makes the bile, and then with the liver, it helps get rid of those toxins in the poop. The bile and the bilirubin are things that are super important in the way that they work together. The spleen helps also the liver, which is the first line of defense in fighting invading germs and invading viruses and bacteria. The spleen controls the balance with its white blood cells fighting, it uses those, but it also controls the balance of red blood cells, white blood cells, and the platelets. It helps with the filtering of the blood. So there's food that's super good for the spleen, right? Things that are easy, right? The first thing is the obvious is the water, so that hydration level, so it helps eliminate the toxins. But things like grapes, honey is super good for the liver. There are foods that are excellent for the liver. Some of the spices like the garlic, the sage, the rosemary, eggs are things that are good for the liver. Obviously, in moderation, don't go crazy with these things. The things that are also good for the liver are potatoes, cinnamon, anise, and carrots. Things that are bad for the liver. Things that are bad for the liver are refined foods that are rich in carbohydrates, like pastries and cookies. And, these are things that you need to eat in moderation and not in everydayation. Stress is super also aggressive on the spleen and the liver as well. High corn fructose syrup. I don't know how to say that, but the corn syrup is so bad for the liver and the spleen. You need to start looking at the things you're eating. You'll be surprised that even in things like ketchup, The crappy ketchup has high corn fructose in it, that corn syrup. It's not good for the spleen because it has to work double time to eliminate it. It's derived synthetically in a chemical process. If you were ever to walk by a place that made high corn fructose syrup, you would hold your nose and gag and vomit. The stink is beyond description. And then of course they use other things to detoxify and deodorize. Not detoxify, deodorize it so that it doesn't stink when you eat it. But you don't want anything with corn syrup in it. And you'll be sad to see that you're not gonna be able to buy a lot of stuff at the supermarket anymore if you start reading. I suggest you start reading. Things that also are canned, because canned things tend to have high salt. Things that are super high in salt and super high in nitrate. So canned meats or something like bacon. There is bacon that has less nitrates and that therefore it doesn't bind with the salt and it's not as heavy and taxing on the spleen and the liver. It's important that you start to pay attention because prevention is the best medicine. And of course, movement and exercise is super good as it reduces stress and it stimulates the organs. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I'll see you for another layer of real Pilates. Today in Real Pilates, we're going to continue to talk about our good, lovey spleen. So you know that the spleen helps, and it's the first line of defense with the liver for invading germs and bacteria, and its super delicate balance of red cells, white cells, and platelets. But it also is important that you give your spleen and liver some things that help stimulate it. So usually things that are warming, and you're like, what is warming? So things that are warming are ginger, parsley, cinnamon, cardamom, vanilla. These are all things that are good. The spleen likes these kind of things. Black strap molasses. Like, when was the last time you even saw that? That's super good. A little spoonful of that in oatmeal. Super, super good for the liver. Oats, barley, millet, polenta. These are things that the spleen really, really loves. Extra virgin olive oil, first pressed olive oil, not just any olive oil. People that are trying to cut on their calories and they buy that light olive oil, don't use anything. Spit and lubricate your food, as opposed to using that light margarine synthetic, that light butter crap. Don't use any of those synthetic things at all. Use extra virgin olive oil, extra virgin cold pressed coconut oil. These are all things in moderation. Use less, but use the good stuff. There are topical things. Remember, everything that you put on your skin goes into the bloodstream and ends up where? Yes, in the liver, and spleen have to deal with that. So there's topical things that you can put on your skin that are good and help the liver and the spleen. Always in a base of cold pressed almond oil or coconut oil. You can add lavender oil, a couple of drops, don't go wild, oregano, lemon oil, frankincense, cypress. So you can make your own oil mixtures. Buy a little bottle of cold pressed organic lavender or cypress oil. Frankincense is delicious. And just add that into a little bit of extra virgin olive oil or coconut oil. Whip it with a fork, and then as you keep that in a bottle, you shake it. When you put it in your hand, right after you come out of the bath, or mix it with a little bit of tap water and put that on your skin. That's amazing for the skin, and it's really good for your organs as well. And you'll smell good all day. Be careful of the antiperspirants. Antiperspirants clog the pores. You need to be able to sweat. So a deodorant is different than an antiperspirant. When you put on an antiperspirant, you are clogging the limbs and telling your body to keep all the poison in. Imagine if you didn't poop for a month, you would die. Exactly. So antiperspirants need to go in the garbage now. Deodorant is something that you would put on that when it senses wetness, it releases something to counterbalance the stink. But again, if you have stinky armpits, it's about the lymphatic system that is being bogged down. Easy thing, take baking soda, add a little bit of lemon to it, not after you've shaved, of course, and a little bit of water, make a paste, apply it to your armpits and stay like this for 2 or 3 minutes. Do that 3 days in a row and you'll see how that cleans toxicity out of the limbs and it will destinctify you. Yes, you can do it on your feet as well. Put that on your feet with some white socks and sleep with that and see how it destinctifies your feet. Feet get stinky from synthetic things on your feet. Pure wool, pure cotton socks, shoes, put a lining in there so that you're not on plastic all day, will destinkify your feet. Change your feet, baking your shoes, your feet, baking soda in the shoes. There are plenty of things that you can do that are non-chemical to destinkify your body. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I'm not stinky. And I'll see you real soon for another layer of real Pilates. Today on Real Pilates, we're going to talk about your heart. Yes, your heart. So there are many interesting facts about the heart, and your heart is super important for a lot of reasons. Your heart is a blend. It's an organ, but it's a muscle. It's a blend of fast twitch fibers and slow twitch fibers, which means that your heart can accelerate and beat rapidly, as in a fast twitch fiber, as in a sprinter, but your heart also has to beat forever because it beats for the entire span of your life. So it has also slow twitch fiber, like an endurance athlete that can go for 20 miles or 100 miles cycling or running. It has various chambers and stuff like that. The important thing to know is that the stronger side of your heart is that left side of your heart. It takes the deoxygenated lungs and pumps it, the deoxygenated blood, and it pumps it toward the lung where the lung oxygenates it and then it flows through the body. The blood pressure that is in the body is measured with usually two numbers. There's a third number, but we're not going to get into that today. Normal blood pressure is 120 over 80. So what does that mean? That first number, that 120, talks about the systolic pressure of the veins. So that is the pressure that is measured as the heart is pumping. So let's say that you have 120 over 80, that's good blood pressure. Let's say that you have 130. Just by 10 digits, that puts you in stage 1 of high blood pressure. When you're above 130, that puts you in stage 2. When you're above 140, that puts you in stage 2 of high blood pressure. So you don't have a lot of room there for having high blood pressure. So why is high blood pressure so damaging? Because that raises the pressure inside the veins. Your veins are elastic. Every time your heart pumps, your veins pump with the blood, and that gives us the second number, or the diastolic pressure, that bottom number of the heart. So it's 120 over 80. That 80 is the number of what happens to the vessels in between the heartbeats. So you pump, right? And the blood vessels expand and contract. It's that contraction that's measured that gives you those two numbers. And that number is super important as well. You don't want to raise that blood pressure and kill the elasticity of the vein, because once the veins lose their elasticity, then the heart has to work harder. So when your arteries in your body, and of course the valves of the heart, become laden with crud, it doesn't allow the elasticity, the springiness of your veins. So your heart has to work harder with every pump. And so that is something that you want to avoid. The aerobic exercise that you do, which is just low intensity does not have to be a lot. It needs to be 150 minutes a week, and it can be cumulative. So if you break that down into 30 minutes for 5 days a week, and it can be as easy as parking your car a little further away than your destination so that you walk that 5 minutes extra to and that 5 minutes extra back. That's 10 minutes out of the 30 minutes that you need 5 days a week. It's about taking the stairs up when the stairs are safe, and not down because it's hard on the knees, taking the stairs up when you can. If there's an escalator and there's a stair, get on the staircase if you can. So that becomes cumulative. The resting heart rate is something like right now I'm seated. So if I were to measure my heart rate, a good resting heart rate would be between 70 to 80. Athletes can get their resting heart rate lower because they train and they condition their hearts. So the good news is that your heart, just like the rest of your body, if you've gotten a little bit out of condition, you can gently and gradually get that heart as a muscle to become stronger, to become more efficient. You can recondition the arteries and the veins in the body so that they become springy. You can get them cleaned out of the crud and get your body to a better, healthy state. It's never too late. As always, it's good to have a doctor check before you begin any program of extreme exercise or diet to make sure that you have a good starting benchmark and that you're guided into exactly how to attain your goal. If you have an excessive amount of weight, I don't recommend, and a doctor wouldn't recommend, running. Seated cycling is gentler. Heart rate monitors that you wear around the chest are more accurate than the watches, but whatever you got, use it so that you can monitor your heart when you're exercising so that you're within parameters and you gently build up the strength of your heart and your cardiovascular system. A doctor or a person that is qualified can help you build a program for that. And I definitely recommend that so that you can stay strong and healthy. But do cumulative stuff so that you can build up your heart muscle. Pilates is really good because we do majority of the exercise laying down. So I can work your body muscles harder laying down as opposed to seated. If you're seated, you can work harder than as standing. So Pilates was designed originally for people to be able to get a better muscle workout without putting unneeded stress on the heart. Even an elite athlete can get a better muscle tone in a laying down exercise as opposed to sitting or standing. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I'll see you soon for another layer of Real Pilates. Today on Real Pilates, we're going to continue to talk about the heart and blood pressure in particular. So we know that there's two numbers for the blood pressure. There's 120/80, which is perfect blood pressure. That 120, that first number, is that systolic, and it measures the pressure on the artery while the heart is beating or pumping. That second number, 120/80, the 80, is the diastolic pressure, and that measures the pressure in between the heartbeats. It measures the blood pressure in the artery. If your top number, as we discussed, is 10 above 120, you're stage 1 high blood pressure. If you're 140, you're stage 2 high blood pressure. The bottom number, that bottom number also, if you are under the 80, let's say that you're under the 80 and you're 120/60. So you have slightly lower diastolic pressure. So some people have that, and that's their natural blood pressure, and it's okay. But you have to be careful to not let the blood pressure drop, too low. And of course, dehydration is one of the major things that will help give you an unbalanced lower number. So it's super important to hydrate, because if the blood is thicker and heavier, it's harder for the heart to pump. That's the premise of a lot of the heart medications, that they just thin the blood and then they think with that, okay, we're done now, my heart is good. No, you need to be able to get your heart stronger by doing a correct program for your heart with someone that's going to guide you, a specialist, a cardiologist, a doctor, if you have excess weight and if you have blood pressure that is not optimal. Things that help you lower the blood pressure naturally, right? So if you have those two numbers, the 120/80, if that 120 is higher, that is an indicator of heart issues yet to come, as opposed to the lower number being higher. See what I'm saying there? It's when the vein is under pressure, that systolic pressure, that you really don't want to have above 120. But here are some things that to naturally help you lower your blood pressure. Apples. Apples naturally lower the blood pressure. You can eat the apple, you can drink the apple juice, but if it's highly sweetened, then we're killing the process of lowering the blood pressure. Beets and beet juice are super good for lowering blood pressure. Pomegranates, of course, water. Exercise is super good in dropping blood pressure and dropping weight if you have excess body weight. Breathing exercises are super good to help bring the blood pressure down. Meditating also helps unstress the body, and it helps bring the blood pressure down. So when you're agitated and you're stressed, the body makes cortisol and other flight or fight hormones that stress the body and that raise up the blood pressure and the resting heart rate. And those hormones are designed for survival, and they're important if you're in a situation where you need to make a run for it, if the dinosaur is chasing you. But you cannot live for long periods of time under stress, because it taxes the heart and it also leads to excess weight gain. So it's super important that you try to get your exercise, drink your water, and eat things to help you get your blood pressure in control. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I'll see you real soon for another layer of Real Pilates. Today on Real Pilates, we're going to continue to talk about the heart, but we're going to look at your heart rate. So in a newborn, the heart rate is a lot faster than an adult, and also in a child. Newborns can have their heart rate, their resting heart rate, from 70, and the newborn can get their heart rate up to 190 because they're little and their little hearts beat fast. As opposed to an adult, their resting heart rate should be between 60 and 80 beats per minute. Women in general usually have a heart rate that's slightly elevated than that of a man, and that's because women generally, not always, have hearts that are smaller due to their size, and so their hearts have to beat more frequently to be able to get their blood where it needs to be. Athletes who train with specific training programs, monitoring their hearts with heart rate monitors, can train their heart, and athletes can have a resting heart rate as low as in their 40s and 50s when they're resting, as opposed to 60 to 80. So their heart becomes more efficient. That means with one pump, the blood squirts and goes everywhere it needs to, as opposed to having to do 2 or 3 pumps. So the heart works less when your resting heart rate is lower. Your heart, average person, a non-athlete, a non-sick person, your heartbeat will be about 100,000 beats a day. Your blood in your veins will be traveling about 12 miles or more a day. And your blood is going to be pumped through your heart 200 gallons a day. Can you see how important that heart is? When you laugh and you laugh spontaneously, it's really good for the heart because it relaxes the arteries and your blood circulation is 20% more effective. So laugh it up, all of y'all. The National Institute of Heart and Heart Attacks has come to the conclusion scientifically that Monday mornings are the day and time when most heart attacks occur, because Monday mornings are stressful for most people. You have more stress hormones in you. You're thinking about the week ahead. You may be running late. Maybe you didn't prepare your stuff. And that stress leads to having more heart attacks Monday mornings than any other time or day of the week. Monday. Yeah, we know, right? Men and women, when they have heart attacks, have them usually differently. While the actual symptom may be the same of tightness in the chest, difficulty breathing, you may have pain in the arms, you may have nausea, jaw pain or tension. People don't know that that can be a symptom. Men usually, not always, usually have stronger symptoms and get to the doctor and the hospital a little bit faster. Women are kind of like, yeah, it's not as obvious as a sharp pain. It's not as obvious as in men. And so women usually wait around and powder their noses and, put on their good panties before running off to the hospital. So if you're feeling lightheaded and dizziness, check your heart rate. Feel yourself. If you're not sure, go to the emergency room. What's the worst that can happen? You see a hot doctor or cute nurse, right? Don't wait if you're not sure. When in doubt, emergency room it out. God forbid. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I'll see you real soon for another layer of real Pilates. And you should always have good panties on, by the way, not just to go to the hospital. Today in Real Pilates, we're going to continue to talk about the heart. Here are some interesting facts that you may have not known about your heart. If you sprint from a dead stop and sprint and run as hard as you can for, 10, 15 seconds, your leg muscles are burning up and exerting a huge amount of force to push you in that fast, short sprint. But for as much energy and force that your leg muscles are expending, your heart is expending more force and more energy than both legs combined. Aha. People always thought that when you sneeze, achoo, bless you, that your heart skips a beat. Not so. Sneezing does change the rhythm of the heart, but your heart never stops beating for your entire life. Knock wood. Intense, sudden feelings, that heartbreak sensation can give you an intense physical feeling that you may be thinking that you are having a heart attack. Those strong emotions of sadness or sometimes joy are hormones that are released in the body that can give you that sensation of tightness of the chest and can give you a sensation of shortness of breath. It's known as heartbreak syndrome. So interesting fact that it could just be a strong emotion. In recent studies, it has been discovered that horses will mimic the heart rate of the person that they are around, especially if you're petting that horse. And scientists are now able to detect, when watching the horse's response, if someone has elevated pressure or arrhythmic issues with their heart just by observing the horse. Interesting. Cats and dogs also can mimic the heart rate of the people around them and the people that are petting them. But when you pet and caress a cat, dog, or horse, It will lower your heart rate and your blood pressure because of the symbiotic entrainment of your heart with the animal's heart, being that the animal is calm and happy and you're interacting with that animal. It is a positive, good effect on the heart, and science is now studying how to use animals to help people with heart issues and to have them trained to sense when people's hearts are out of rhythm to help prevent heart attacks. Interesting, yeah? So pet those cats and dogs, y'all. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I'll see you real soon for another layer of real Pilates. Today on Real Pilates, we're going to talk about the heart versus the brain. The heart has an electrical component to it that is 60 times greater than the brain. You know that the brain is all electrical impulses, right? And the heart has an electromagnetic energy field. Science, not hoochie coochie new age stuff, science. It has an energy field, an electromagnetic energy field 5,000 times greater than that of the brain. He's all heart, you hear people say. That's a good thing. He really is all heart. When you are formed in your mother's womb, the heart beats before the brain is even formed. The heart has over 40,000 neurons in it. Yes, neurons like the ones found in the brain, because the heart has the ability, physical ability, proven by science, to learn, to remember, and to process. The brain and the heart talk to each other, signals that go from the heart to the brain, not just from the brain to the heart. Positive emotions, scientifically proven, like love, compassion, and gratitude, generate harmonious patterns and harmonious rhythms of the heart. There is a phenomena labeled physiological coherence, and that is where the brain, the heart transmit a beat, a vibration, an electromagnetic vibration to all the other organs that puts the body in a state of coherence where everything is working phenomenally together, where it helps regulate so it's a reduction of stress, but it really helps with cellular regeneration at the DNA level. Scientifically proven that when you have this psychological coherence of brain and heart, it really stimulates learning, creativity. It helps with better choice making, and it is regenerative. The heart has a very significant effect on the body's ability to regenerate at the cellular level. It is that entrained breath, heart, brain connection that's going to keep you young, that's going to keep you happy, that's going to keep you alert, that the heart will help the brain stay rejuvenated. So I'm going to be giving you some tricks and some things to do in our next class. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I'll see you soon for another layer of real Pilates. Today on Real Pilates, we're talking about the heart. We talked about how the heart has neurons in it. Science has proven that your heart has an electromagnetic field that reaches 3 feet outside of your body. And if you focus attention on it, it can go further. Not hoochie coochie, it is science. That electromagnetic field has been measured outside the body by ECG machines, and it is super important for you to understand that when you are around other people, your state of what is going on in your heart, driven by your emotions, is going to be sent out as a vibration, science. And you also are going to be feeling the vibrations of other people. Do you ever know that one person that when they come and it's like they sucking your energy, that you leave and you're exhausted? Do you know those people that come into the room and it's like a light, a little ray of light comes in the room, that they uplift you and they make you feel good? So these are people that are emitting an electrical current that is a positive current. The brain and the heart can be retrained through neuroplasticity, proven by science, so that you can build a better brain and build a better heart, so that you can keep your electromagnetic field around you strong. So if you happen to encounter someone that is a little bit negative or a little bit sad, and you have to have compassion for these people because they don't want to be miserable, even though they are. And you can keep your electromagnetic field strong so that they don't bring you down, and so that you can also have a positive effect and lift them up. So here are a couple of techniques. Remember, happiness is a choice. When you're happy, your body produces that hormone of oxytocin that is a hormone, that is a happiness hormone, right? So here's an easy technique that you can do. Just bringing attention to your heart. And it even helps if you put your hand close to your heart. So let's say that you're waiting online, you're getting stressed out, you're waiting at the elevator, or you're at a red light. Just put your hand on your heart and just have a feeling of gratitude. Say, thank you, heart, for taking care of me today. Just that feeling of gratitude. It can be a feeling of gratitude for something that you have in your life, like put your hand on your heart and say, I'm so grateful that I can see today, that I have good vision. I'm so grateful that I can hear today. Because we take for granted all of the things that are working good in our body. You only bitch and moan when it's broke, but you ain't rejoicing and jumping up and down, right, when it's fixed. So we need to be a little bit more attentive of that. Breathing technique. There's a technique, there's the square, that there's also a 4-7-8 technique that is really good. You just need to do 4 of them to really help stimulate the heart electromagnetically. So it's breathing in for 4 counts, holding for 7 through the nose, exhaling for 8. 4, 7, 8. Just doing that 4 times really helps increase your electromagnetic field of your heart to keep you enveloped in a bubble of goodness. Here's one that's really, really, really good. It's called a joy memory. So think about something that made you really happy. When you got that puppy, that would make me happy. Or when you got your new car, yeah. Or when you got that promotion, or something that made you happy in your life. Thinking about an event that made you super, super happy, a joy moment, lifts the electromagnetic vibration of the heart, and it helps ease the stress, and it helps fight off bad stress hormones. Another good practice to do is next time you have a moment of happiness, someone that you care about hugs you, and you have a joy moment, I want you to give that joy moment a soothing color, like a nice peachy pink next time someone you love hugs you. Or let's say you're eating something that really makes you happy because it's delicious. You cooked it and it's delicious, like a fish head soup. That's what I love, but I'm a weirdo. So I want you to give that feeling a color, like a beautiful pea green, so that you're attaching a color to that feeling of joy, so that next time you see that color, it's going to stimulate that joy in you. Or all you have to do is think about that color, so that it will bring that vibration into your heart. Remember that exercising helps the heart find joy because it relieves stress, and petting animals and being around animals. Even if you're just watching a nature show and you're watching little mama bird feeding little baby chicks, or you're watching gazelles running, hopefully not the lion killing it, but just watching, or bees making honey, or just watching for a few minutes some animal or creature in the ocean swimming, that also is really good for the heart. And don't forget to give it a color. My color is light purple, and this is Pilates Master Nikki, and I love you, and I'll see you real soon for another layer of